Okay, so this is going to teach a little bit of rate. And what I'm going to do is you're going to start off by doing a rollover, and you're going to go into a small circle like you're turning the barrel, and you're going to get up and pretend like you're riding. So right now, Fly seems like he's kind of going pretty fast. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sit back, relax, and you want him to come down to a lope, or your horse to come down to like a slow lope. And what you do is you're just going to end up stopping him. He'll take a couple steps back, roll over, and immediately go into another circle. And you want him to catch their lead. Just like if you're turning a barrel, I mean, it doesn't have to be a really tight circle, or it could be a big circle. It doesn't matter. This is just pretty much that when you sit down, your horse needs to be focusing on coming back into you. So we're kind of, striding out. We're not loping really slow, but we're not hauling butts either. And then when I sit up, we're going to go down into a slow lope. And when I feel like he feels good and he's still working, we're going to stop. And then we'll back up and roll over. And you just kind of keep doing that. And this is honestly just going to get your horse to where they're really feeling for your seat. So when you sit down, their butt comes underneath them and they sit down. And when you're up and you're riding, when your body position is forward, your horse should be going. As if you're pulling on your horn. If you pull on your horn, you want your horse to go. If you push against your horn, it's like you're turning a barrel. You want your horse can feel everything that you're doing on top of them. Okay, and as far as body position, when you send your horse and you're sending him into a run, like right here, okay, it's just going to be like you're running between your barrels. You want to be up forward. You want to be up, in the middle of his neck, but not where you're leaning and bent over your horn. And when you slow down, just throw your heels down. If you need to help your horse, just pick up a little bit and check. And just throw your heels down and relax. And then when you stop, just push in your seat and really sit down. And ask your horse to back up. Okay, so right here is I'm just going to work the barrel pattern. And when I get there, I'm going to stop. I'm going to back up, reinforce that rate. And then when my horse backs up enough and he feels good, make sure his hip is kicked to the inside. I'm going to go around it at a lope. You lope around it just to keep him holding his lead. And see, right here, he's working perfect. He's done this drill a million times, so he's going to do this like a pro. Okay, so we're going to trot across the pen, stop, back up, a stride before the barrel. Okay, his hip was a little bit out, so right there I kicked it over. Okay, so I'm going to keep my hand forward and use my inside leg, ask him to pick up that lead. Okay, and right now it seems like I'm looking down at him, but honestly I'm looking at where his feet are going. I'm looking ahead of where I want his feet to be going. So we're going to go here, we're going to stop again, we're going to back up. Okay, and sometimes your horses aren't going to, catch their leads right away and go around it like him and know to pick it up. You can teach this to him, okay? Going wide, come out tight, and just trot home, walk home. It doesn't matter. Just go slower home. Don't go sprinting your horse home. And then just stop and back up. Now right here, I'm just asking Fly to trot circles, and I'm sitting down, and I'm setting myself up like I'm turning a pattern, So whether I'm one-handed or I'm two-handed, okay, when I set that inside leg and I sit and I get my weight into my outside stirrup, I'm asking him to drop down into a circle. And I do this both directions, and this exercise is just going to get your horse, again, feeling for you. It's all part of the rate. It's all part of getting a tourney process. This is something that works for me, and not all horses it'll work with, but it should work. And if it doesn't, I'm sorry. Again, Fly does it like a pro because he's finished. Okay. Y'all should know this mare. This in herself is just describing a problem. Anyway, this is called funneling. So what this is going to do, okay, is we're going to start off at a trot, and I'm asking her to kind of roll around herself, and I want her to slow down. So, I keep asking her to go into a circle even until she kind of walks or does, a really good rollback, okay? And eventually, when I'm doing this, she will eventually really, slow down, and she'll just, immediately when I sit, she's just going to come around herself. Okay, and I just keep doing this, so if I do need to pick up on my horse, okay, see how she's fighting her head? I'm not really just, poking and picking. I'm holding, and she's hitting. She just keeps hitting the bit, but I'm just going to get her collected a little bit. I don't have to have her head to her chest, but I'm going to ask her to funnel down. So she's trotting, and I'm going to wait for her to go down to a walk. And then we ask her to roll over. When she wants to kick her hip out, just keep trying to get her over her hip. Don't let them roll around off their front end. Make them cross over in their hind end. Engage those hocks. That's what we want to do. We want to engage those hocks. And so right now, I'm just trying to collect her head, okay, and we're going to funnel. See, I started at a lope and went to a trot and then down to a walk. And when she got to the walk, I made her cross over. And I'm going to do this both ways. And like her, I try not to fight with her head. She's miserable, but don't fight with them. Just let it come natural. If you feel like there's a fight coming on, just get off. Come back later. It's going to be the best thing. Okay, so when she feels good, I will eventually go down into a circle, and I'll ask her to start funneling, okay? And honestly, you want them to hold your lead. This is like the first time I've done this with her, so already I'm seeing a progress in her, but now I'm just going to make her start rolling around herself, and eventually they'll keep their leads. Like, you want them to keep their lead, and then it's like a relaxing mode in them. Like, when you sit down, everything tones down a notch, not when you sit down, keep going. So this is going to help with, like, just your turns, like your rate, your body position. Keep your weight into the outside of your stirrup, okay? It doesn't, you can use your outside leg. Like right here, I always use my outside leg. Even though when I'm running barrels, I'm always using my inside leg. I adjust a lot to different horses, okay? And you're going to have to adjust. So right here, I'll just set, once she figures out her direction and I need her to cross over, that's when I use my outside leg. I'm not hitting her in my outside leg before she even starts in the turn. I wait till I have her head. So her head's going to go first, and then her neck and her shoulder, and then it just moves back. It goes from the back, and you don't want, their shoulder to, fall in, and then, their head come next. You want their nose, their neck, their shoulder, their ribs, their hip. And you just keep doing this. And it just gets them on edge. So when you sit down, they eventually really just start sitting down, and I mean, the minute I sit, it's going to seem like she just starts coming around. And I'm doing this a lot because this is the first time I've done this on her, okay? And I want her to get this, and I'm just teaching her it, okay? See, right there how she snapped around, even though I grabbed her, like she was still at a trot, but she snapped around so quick. It was a rate, like she came back to me really fast. And that's okay. If your horse is loping like that, and all of a sudden they just snap around and come back to you, like right there, she kicked her hip out, and so I asked her to keep going in that circle until she got her hip back underneath her. Right there, she got her hip underneath her, and she snapped back around, so I didn't get after her. And then eventually, after you do it at a lope and get him funneled down, always end it at a walk and go from there. Okay, something she likes to do right here, you can see her shoulder. She's not really bent in her ribs. I got her nose, but she's not bent in her ribs, okay? Also, she doesn't like to back up and kick her hip to the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trot up there, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to back her up a ways. And as I'm backing her up, I am asking her to kick her hip to the inside. And I'm going to go again, and I'm going to stop. Because right there, her hip came out of position. So I'm going to kick it back with my outside leg, which is, if we're looking at this video, it's my right leg. And I'm going to kick her just like we did like that. And I'm going to push her hip back underneath her, okay? Because if your horse is going to turn, you need that hip in there. Because if you're doing a rollback, just like you're doing a rollback on the back side of the barrel, you need that hip tipped in there. And you can see she's getting really mad, but I'm trying to stay calm. Every time she goes to kick her hip away, I just push it right back over until she calms. And what I want to do is when she finally sits there, like she is there, she finally gets to walk around it. Okay, so this is one of my favorite exercises that I do with all my colts, even my finished horses, okay? So if you got a horse that likes the shoulder, you push them to the outside. So you do a rollback, so I'm sitting here and I'm walking, okay? And it doesn't matter, you can do this, you start at a walk and build up, okay? And so we're walking around there, and you want them to walk a perfect circle around there to where you have a hold to their hips, their ribs, not their hips. Their hip is into the inside. You have their nose a little bit. I mean, you don't want it touching your toe, okay? And you're going to stop, and you're going to back up a little step, and you're going to ask that horse to roll around and immediately go into turning that circle again, okay? So what this is going to teach them right here is to keep their hip to the inside of that barrel, because they know at one point you may pick them up. Okay, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to go the other way. And see how she gets flung out, but she comes back too really quick. Her hips may fling out a little bit, but she comes back too. So this is also the first time I've ever done this on her. So she's going to just trot, stop. She's going to fight this bit a little bit. Oh well. And I mean, their butt, you can be 4 feet away, you can be 10 feet away. It does not matter. So this, when you're turning to the outside, that is what you do when you have a horse that likes to shoulder into the barrel. Okay? Like any kind of shouldering, and this just keeps their shoulder up, like they're not they're turning the barrel, and there's a switch in direction, and it's just, now when I break over into the inside, this is what I do on horses that like to blow barrels. When I'm trotting them, okay, I'm going to pick them up and get them real light off their front end, okay, and on their hind end. So if I need to pick up when I'm running the pattern, it's going to be a little bit easy. They're going to be used to me picking up. And you can go as tight as you want around that barrel. I mean, your foot can be dragging against that barrel, and you're going to pick up and make your horse move over. And this is honestly, like, she's a very turny horse, but I ride very aggressive on her, and she's the kind of horse that you can't really ride aggressive on. So when I ride aggressive, she kind of goes by barrels. But when I pick up, this helps me to where she is always in my hand. Even with my colts, like right there, her hip didn't really go, like she didn't sit in the ground and roll around. And so her hip's kind of kicked out. So the next time I do it, I'm going to, well, she didn't do it that time either. But we just want you want them to kind of be able to pick up really fast and snap around. Like right there, her hip, like, and right there. See, now I'm just doing it really quick and making her move. So when I pick her up, her butt's already in the ground, so it's going to be really easy for me to pick her up and move her. This is how you want it at a lope, okay? And when they do it, reward them, pet them, do anything. Now, this is a really fun exercise. Actually, normally you have cones, but I don't have cones. So what you would want to do, it's called 4 corners. You can look this up. Martha Josie does this exercise a lot. I do it without cones. You can do it with or without. So I'm going to set up like I'm turning a barrel, and like her, I'm asking her to rate a lot more because she doesn't really get her butt into the ground. And I want her to start really driving in there. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out loping kind of like a big circle. And you're going to catch your lead. And you're going to approach the barrel at all different angles. And it's just a 1 barrel exercise. Stop and then just go around it. And this just pretty much is, if you're approaching a barrel, it doesn't matter how you're approaching it. That horse better be sitting down and rating for you. And this is good for horses that like to blow barrels or just to reinforce the rate on them. And make sure you do this both directions. So she's a little bit worse on shouldering on the right side. Okay? Because I take her to the left, so I have a little bit more problem on my right, so I'm going to stop her, back her up, okay, and I'm going to hold her. See how she caught the wrong lead? I'm not going to pick up and start ripping on her. I just trot her, wait for her to catch it, and we go around it, and we go out. And just make sure you go in and go out loping. Don't lope the barrel and trot out. You want them to keep that lead. You want them to keep driving. And I'm going to approach it again, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to back up. And every time I approach it with her, I'm asking her to go around it. And I mean, just stop and back up. So every time she sees a barrel, instinct is to rate. And I'm also going to do this without stopping her at all. So right here, I think this is the start of the video where I don't do any rating. So this is just approaching the barrel, okay? I'm going to ask her to turn it, and I lope out. Make sure she has her leads at all time, and I'm going to go back into a big circle, and I'm going to attempt another approach at it, and I'm going to set myself, and she's going to really come around it. Now, if you notice right there, her hip is to the inside of that barrel, which means like she's cut her hip, she's leading with her hip, and that's going to cause her to really turn that barrel sharp and get around it. She's driving, she's engaging her hocks right there. Okay, some horses that are front-endy, they don't really engage in their hocks, so it's hard for them to get around a barrel like this. Like, they're not really driving, and this just helps. And so I'm going to do that and pet on her when she's done, or just walk